talking Valero Texas Open. I am Ben Reza. That's not fantasy golf, man. Look who it is. It was our friend from Wednesday night, the man himself, off a good week at Corrales. Congratulations to you, sir. Jason Roslin, hello. It's nice to see you in the daytime.
Hey, yeah, man. I know I do come out during the day. I'm not just in my garden or on the golf course. I am seen sometimes. And as Tim, sadly, I don't want to be on the show without him, but he's got a couple things going on. So I'm going to step in for him on this Tuesday and maybe get a little sleep on Wednesday nights. Who knows? You know, that's not up to me or anything else. But what I will be doing, I will tell you about, though, the sponsor of our show. I want to thank Monkey Knife Fight for sponsoring us continually. Their player props-based contests, well, they're easy to pick, or easy to play, I should say. Here's an example. This week, you got a two-choice, Spieth and Finau, over or under 18.5 birdies or better for the week. For me, I'm picking the over on Spieth and the under on Finau, and I get to choose my buy-in level. I get to choose all of that kind of stuff, so no time requirements or anything like that. I don't have to worry about ownership. So check on monkeyknifefight.com. And when you deposit, you're going to get $50 from by using the promo code Awesemo when you sign up for monkeyknifefight.com. Also, you can play other sports as well, not just PGA. You got NBA, esports, all of that over there. So check it out. Ben, pretty fun stuff over there. I'm not going to lie. I was checking it out earlier, found that Spieth one that I like. Maybe fading Finau, maybe gave you a little tease of what's going on this week.
Yeah, listen, this is, you know, I think everyone in the golf world has one eye on Augusta, no doubt about it. And some of the players probably do. But you know what? This is a good lead up. It's a nice prep week. I like this tournament, and we've got a lot, you know, to dig into here at Valero, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Let's learn a little bit about the golf course. TPC San Antonio. I'm sure, Ben, you've heard the divorce course terminology used once or twice in our couple of years of covering this event, but it is super tough. 54% of the fairways are going to be hit this week, so a lot of missed fairways. It's going to lead to a lot of missed greens. You're targeting a specific type of golfer. I know a new friend of ours that just joined the team, Max. He told me he likes to target golfers that strike the ball well. You don't need to be a good putter to win.
No, I mean, this is an event. You're certainly not going to get into a shootout. I would, of course, love, you know, you always say this, like, oh, give me a great ball striker who's also a great putter and he can scramble. Well, yeah, that sounds perfect. There's not a lot of those guys floating around the tour. So I think it's a second shot course. The thing that stands out for me, the par fives, you're not really going to get to them in two. It's more of a wedge fest. So can you control that? Can you really dominate from like 100 to 125 yards out? I think we've seen guys, of course, Ryan Moore comes to mind, who have that mindset that are very successful here.
Yeah, there are. And it's crazy. Andrew Landry is another name that like, oh, well, you know, 7,500 yards, really tough off the tee. How does a guy like Andrew Landry win it? Well, different profile. It's just how he sets up. If you hit a lot of fairways here, you're obviously going to be above the field. So Andrew Landry, when he gets going, does that. Ryan Armour is another name that we'll certainly chat about. But before we move on, let's circle back real quick to the match play. One thing that I talked about with Jeff yesterday on the show, and I just want to get your opinion quickly on, did it get boring for you basically after group stage? Like for me, I mean, there were a lot of upsets. Maybe that hurt it, but it's pretty boring. I hate to say that, but
I love the format of it. I think a lot of it is great. It's just first of all, there's a lot of downtime in golf like that, so that makes it tough. And yeah, I certainly was more. I wanted to see a couple of the big names, and no disrespect to Victor Perez and the group, it wasn't exactly that. I do like that they change it up. And it's a cool break. And now we get back to what we normally do, which is trying to make, guys make the cut at TPC San Antonio. And we've got an interesting field even without DJ to do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the higher priced golfers this week. DJ obviously withdrawing leaves a bit of a hole, but he was priced all the way at 11,800. So it's kind of in a world of his own. Next, you get Tony Finau. For me, 11,000 seems like the best of his golfing season. It was about a month ago. In the last couple of weeks, he's really looked bad. He looked awful, Ben, at TPC Sawgrass. I know the second day he tried to, make a push towards the cut, but he really didn't look good at all. I think if he was 9,800, I'd have interest in him, but 11,000, I'm struggling to get to him this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we've got four guys north of 10K. They're the best players in the field, but none of them scream, they haven't been exactly burning up the winner's circle recently. Decky's on a huge drought. Spieth's on a huge drought. Finau's on a huge drought. And Scheffler, of course, is really searching for some marquee wins on tour. I mean, I don't know what exactly to make of Finau. You summed it up nicely. He was playing world class. He had absolutely nothing going into Players. Maybe that's a blip on the radar. Clearly he's in play, but I certainly think that Spieth and Scheffler make more sense. So does the public. And then there's Decky. Going to be the leverage, but is it warranted? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Last week, you look at his stats. He ended up beating Cantlay, right? And then got beat by both Brian Harman and I forget the other guy in that group off the top of my head. But still, you'd look at it and say, well, man, why isn't he playing well? Actually, Brian Harman and Patrick Cantlay, I don't know if they made a bogey in the first two matches and a ton of birdies. They were both playing incredibly well. So I think Hideki maybe ran into a bunch of hot golfers and just wasn't playing as well. But he's been searching for a while, Ben, and to pay $10,100, we've got to get a top 5 out of him. And how long has it been since we've just gotten that, let alone a win? I think it's been quite a while. So I know he's going to be probably the lowest owned. I don't know that I can get there this week. I think I'd rather just drop down. But before we talk about those guys, let's talk about Scottie Schaffler. Visibly was tired at the end of the match play. There's no doubt about it. Think that carries over this week, or do you think he's able to bounce back on a course? Statistically, he should fit, and he has good course history as well.
I do think that he can bounce back, and he's obviously one of the better players in this field. The approach game, similar to Decky, just to speak to Decky a little, his approach game has ticked back up, and that is a positive. You mentioned that group. Carlos Ortiz was the other guy who's playing pretty well. That was a tough group last week. Scheffler, though, he's going to gain tee to green. He's got to make some putts. He can do that. I think that Spieth is going to be the obvious chalk. It's warranted. He's playing great. He's a Texas guy. So is Scheffler, but I think that's the case right before Augusta. It's just really, you mentioned balance builds are going to be in play. And because DJ's not here, there's really no super expensive guys because that was DJ and the pricing already came out before he withdrew.
At the end of this, maybe we'll get a couple of minutes to talk about the Masters. Of course, 3 millionaire makers. The pricing already dropped for that. So there is a couple of things to discuss. But we do have a show right after this. So we'll be at a 255. However, Jordan Spieth, you just mentioned, if he were to win this week, do you think that takes him out of play next week? Like, he can't win back-to-back weeks, can he?
It's funny. I was just talking about this on a different show, and he's going to be, barring something ridiculous this week, he's going to be extremely popular at Augusta. Listen, we know that he loves Augusta, and he's going to be popular basically regardless. I think this week it's a little trickier just because I do think guys in some regard are kind of working on some things to get ready more so. Not saying they're not trying to win, but you kind of alluded. There's a lot of guys in the 9s that are playable. And as we've seen historically, to me, Valero screams more pretty good golfer breaks through than top end golfer wins.
Agreed. I would love to see Spieth get into contention here this week, kind of like what DJ did at the Houston Open in November, the week before Augusta. Given the fact that he ended up winning, of course, got into contention, said how much that kind of helped him get mentally ready on Sunday when he obviously ended up lapping the field there. So would love that from Jordan Spieth again here this week. I think a top 5 would be great. Now, looks like just ran through chat very quickly. Looks like there is maybe a little bit of a weather draw. It's still a little early to show, but it looks like maybe Thursday morning there's some wind, and then Friday afternoon again. So that could lead to a PM AM advantage. Just throwing that out there. Don't know. Again, we don't normally play that, Ben, but it looks like maybe this week it's something to look at.
The one thing I'll say that I think is more important is the worst of the weather seems to be in the AM on Thursday.
Yep, exactly.
And that is closer to, like, say Thursday morning lock is at 7 a.m. Eastern. You can look at the weather at 6:30 Eastern, and you know that you're looking at weather in a half hour. That's going to be a lot more accurate than when you and me have talked about Friday afternoon, potentially bad weather. Yep. We got to wait 36 hours and stuff can change. So if it looks like Thursday AM is the problem, I will react accordingly. Certainly tomorrow night, we're going to dive into that as well. But I think you're spot on that we have to at least consider it.
And just so that everybody knows, if that ends up happening, Hideki Matsuyama and Tony Finau are in the afternoon on Thursday, so they play PM AM. Jordan Spieth, Scottie Schaffler, they are at 7:57 and 8:09 on Thursday morning. So if that ends up playing well, maybe Jordan Spieth will get a quick trip over to Augusta. If that ends up happening, who knows? A couple of other guys, big names that we're going to talk about right now, including the defending champion, Corey Connors. He's going off at 8:09 with Jordan Spieth and Ryan Palmer in this 9,000 range, which, Ben, I do love, barring any big-time weather concerns, which we will monitor. If we're just going to, throw that out for right now, just for analysis purposes, for me, Corey Connors, Abraham Answer, Ryan Palmer, all great starts to a lineup this week.
This range, you look at the nines, you're not going to find fault maybe with Kuchar, but even he, I think there's a reason why people may have interest just because he's starting to show form again. But you mentioned, I think Abraham Answer is a great starting point. He's a San Antonio guy. The irons have been there, really playing pretty well, in my opinion. Tee to green checks out. He's lost 5 straight with the putter in 5 straight events. That's the big issue. He's got to flip that, and I think he can. Connors is the champ. Palmer is fine. Tringale and Charlie Hoffman both playing outstanding golf. So the 9K range, it's hard to not think people won't take a couple of these guys in a lot of lineups.
Very true. So we've got the Masters coming up next week, that we've mentioned a couple of times, Ben, but we also have MLB starting here this week.
It's true.
It's crazy. Amazing time to be a sports fan, no doubt about it. And I'm going to tell you about a little promo we got going on. MLB opening day. It's April 1st, 2 days away. And we have a deal for you. Get your first 9 days of Awesemo Plus MLB for just $9 when you use promo code STARTING9. That's starting with the numeral 9. It's going to give you access to everything we have to offer for MLB DFS, including player projections, ownership projections, top stacks, lineup builder, and our premium Slack channel. This offer is valid through April 9th. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus MLB today. And Ben, on that note, I want to talk about the premium Slack channel. Of course, we're doing this on Tuesday afternoon. So if you're watching this at a different time, feel free to reach out to us on the Slack channel. If you want our opinion on a specific range of golfers or a golfer that we don't cover here, feel free to hit us up there. Certainly, I get to most every single one of the messages. So a good way to contact us there. Okay, keeping in this 9K range, Charlie Hoffman, this guy's impressed me. He had a quad on 72nd hole in Corrales. He was in the top 15. He ended up finishing, I don't know, T40 or something like that, but he played a lot better than that, Ben. He actually started the day at -7, had a chance to win. I'm thankful that he played bad. It helped me. I kind of asked you for that help, and you gave it to me somehow. But I think this could be a good bounce back week for Charlie.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, and I think you identified, particularly with Corrales, no one has strokes gain data, so you're really just looking at the box score. And it's like, oh, he played okay, came in 34th. He actually, I mean, yes, he ultimately did. He was a lot better than that. And before that, top 20 at the Players, 10th at API, made cuts at Genesis, and he was 7th at the Pro-Am at Pebble. I mean, what's not to like? The irons are on fire. This is a good course for him. I think we've seen that, of course, in the past. I believe he is a former, he won this event in 2016, runner-up another time. Everything checks out. It's still 9K Charlie Hoffman, but in a field like this, you're going to have to incur some of that and kind of get over it.
Yeah, and honestly, I would love to see the green hat and green glove be the first round leader at Augusta next week. And the only way he's going to be able to do that is to win here, which he's done before. So definitely, I do like Charlie Hoffman a lot this week. Staying in the 9K range, even though he's going to be a little higher owned. Another guy that's going to be higher owned that I would rather much play Charlie Hoffman is Cam Tringale. I tried fading him at the Honda Classic. It didn't work for me. I'm going to try again, though. 9,300, it's just too much for me to pay.
Yeah, listen, I totally get it. This kind of reminds me of a Harris English situation in some regards, where he's really turned the corner. He's playing great golf, and the results have been there, and I get it. Checks out. It's a little heavy for me in terms of the price. I'd rather pivot. So do I think he keeps it going? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised, but you're starting to narrow the gap. A lot of his finishes at the time, they were really good because he was 7,200. He was 7,400. And when you're coming in 26, that's great. When you're in the mid nines, now we need top tens. Now we need some placement points. I don't know if he's going to be doing that as often as it seems, but there's no doubting the form. So I get it. I prefer Charlie Hoffman as well.
Yeah, and listen, the statistical profile matches his good play. I mean, 44th off the tee, 47th on the approach, 84 around the green, 54 putting. I mean, top 100 on all those. It's impressive. But for me, I just don't see the upside yet. And maybe that's a problem. Maybe I'm behind on that because the numbers are much better than they've been in the past. But 9,300 for me and Cam Tringale, I'm out. I think there's much better talent coming up in this range. Couple more guys. Brendan Steele. He's having a great season, very much like Charlie Hoffman, right? I mean, the ball striking seems to be back. I'd rather pay 9,100 for him than 9,300 for Cam Tringale.
Yeah, Brendan Steele, I think, is not going to be nearly as owned either. Really good at Honda. Yeah, he's been putting the lights out, but still, this is a guy that he's done some things. I've seen some comp to Safeway. Well, guy dominates Safeway. He also won Valero, so that's probably where the origins of all this come from. I like him over Kuchar is the last guy in this range. And I wanted to ask you, clearly he's shown some form. I was as stunned as anyone to see him get out of the group. I think people may overblow that a little. You know, it might be overblown. I'm not really there, even though I get that he is trending upward.
No, he definitely is. And it's almost setting up like the time where he was, 7,200 at the Masters, and everybody played him, and he ended up getting a hole in one. It's almost coming into that stretch, right? I'm sure he's still in the top 50 in the world. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about, he's 6,800 for next week. So that's where I'm kind of seeing this trend is a top 20 here this week, and he's going to be the chalkiest player next week. Now, I know we're not talking about that, but I think that at least what we saw last week was decent form. I'm not ready to put him in the top 10 this week, but I think he has another good start, and we're trending towards something big time ownership next week.
And that's going to be something to monitor. And it's tough. He got a major price bump. Again, I see why he got it. It's just, I don't know. I would certainly rather find a couple $100 more, or I mean, the 8K range is loaded with, again, a lot of potential. So you have options.
I think there's three players in the 8K range as we go down to there that have a better chance of winning this golf tournament than Matt Kuchar. So it's going to be hard for me to play a lot of Matt Kuchar given that. And before we move on to our 8K range, of course, I want to let you guys know that if you're not able to get onto YouTube or just simply don't want to stare at my ugly face, I totally understand that. You can check out this and all of our other great shows on our podcast network. So all you got to do to get to that is go to our homepage. You'll see the banner right across the top. Click the Awesemo Podcast Network, or just go to awesemo.com/podcast. Leave a 5-star review on one of them with your Twitter handle or email address, and you'll be eligible to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And guess what? Reviews are good for 1 year, and every Friday we're going to award a winner. So Ben, some good stuff going on there. If you can't watch us, you can certainly listen to us. And let's start off this 8K range. Got Siwoo Kim, the enigma that is Siwoo Kim. He'll disappear for a month, then he'll come in the top 10. Then he'll go on a good stretch, then he'll disappear again. So is this the stretch that he is playing good golf, or are we just going to wait and see with Siwoo?
I mean, he looked at the players, the irons were back in form, and it'll be interesting because I think he's a Augusta target potentially. He's been good there, and he was good in November there. So we'll have to see. It's a little heavy of a price tag. I mean, I think you can look down. Any of these guys, it's just different builds. Cam Davis and Keegan are certainly driver heavy. Maybe you want to go that route. Chris Kirk, he fits what we're talking about. You know, you get the short irons or the wedges in his hand, can be very effective around here. And even Zach Johnson, we see, I mean, when he plays, he won a Masters doing that strategy. Par fives, attack 3-shot holes. That's what you need to do here.
So for Zach Johnson, the guy doesn't miss cuts now. Nope. What's going on? Is he ever going to miss one again?
I mean, if I could do what I did to Xander at the Players and play him and end the streak. But if I don't do that, I mean, he's just very consistent because he makes his fair share of putts. He stays out of trouble. And I think around this type of course, that's going to be very effective. You know what I mean? You don't need crazy streaks and eagles, and you got to keep it in play. There's a lot of not something I look at, but like double bogey rate, triple bogey rate at this course, you would think there'd be water the way it's elevated. You can make big numbers here in a hurry.
Sure can. And as you said, Zach stays away from it. I think he's fine this week. A guy that I'm going to take the fade route of is Chris Kirk, and then I do some top 5 videos, and he is one of the top 5 fades from this week. Sure, you like and subscribe to get notified when those do come live as well. Special subscribe, you'll get a little bell when those come out. But Chris Kirk, Ben, are you going to fade him like I am, or are you playing him?
So I don't mind the spot for him. It's going to be a matter of ownership. I think he could garner some interest. He does some things. Making cuts, though. I mean, he's made 4 straight cuts. He was good at Honda. Tee to green has been fantastic all year. So I have no problem with the play on the surface. I'm interested. Is there something specific that you're kind of a little worried about? Is it an ownership thing, or is there just other guys that you like better?
For me, it looks like ownership. Checking what the projected ownership looks like, 18% this week. Of course, get all of our ownership projections as part of the Awesemo Plus package. But last week, Alex was so on with the projections. It really helped in leading me to getting an under-owned Griot at the Corrales. And I think for me, Ben, it's a similar situation. $200 more expensive is Cameron Davis, who I think is better suited for this golf course. I think that Cameron Davis's progression off the tee, I think he's ranked in the top 20 this year. It's showing, and I think he could actually have a breakthrough. Part of my hot take, which we'll of course go over later, but I think Cam Davis is a much better play this week.
Yeah, Cam Davis. I mean, we've talked a lot about the Justin Sues of the world, the Doug Gims. Some guys it takes a little, and Cam Davis struggled for a while. He's clearly found that he belongs on tour. Very aggressive driver, can score. His short game is weak, there's no doubt, but you know what? You can still survive. You better hope it's not really windy, but I'm not just Xing him out by any stretch. Cam Davis is in the pool this week.
Lanto Griffin's another guy that's kind of sandwiched in between this range, and another reason why I'm not playing a lot of Chris Kirk, Ben, because I feel like Lanto Griffin is, more of a grinder, or maybe, they actually profile very similarly when I look at them. So I guess I'd rather play Lanto, who looks like maybe 5 or 10% less projected ownership.
Yeah, Lanto's an interesting guy because you look at his around the green game is very weak, but it doesn't really cost him as much because he makes more than his fair share on the greens. And that's why scrambling is such a noisy stat. You don't have to be a great around the green player to be a good scrambler if you make the putt. And Lanto seems to do that more often than not. Not going to overpower the course. I totally see that. Lanto's been great. I'm on board. I've been on board though.
Yeah, you certainly have, no doubt about it. So let's before we move on, let's talk about a little bit of lineup construction, if you will, of all the guys that we talked about. If you really think that, say, Tony Finau is going to miss the cut, maybe Scottie Schaffler's tired and Hideki Matsuyama is not ready yet, and you do want to play Spieth at 10,700, who's the next guy that you would pick? Would you skip the 9K range if you're playing Spieth, or would you try and jam in, say, another Corey Connors or Abraham Answer with him?
So I think you have 2 directions you could go there. If you go Spieth Answer, you're going to need a plan of action because people are going to do that. You're going to have to find somebody. So if you have someone who's complete dark horse, a long shot, I would go that route. If not, I would probably flatten and go Spieth and then go Lanto and maybe try to get in Zach Johnson with him, something like that. You're still going to need to do something, but if you go Hideki up top, that's the natural pivot leverage. You can do practically whatever you want. But we haven't really talked about these guys. I mean, I like the 8s as we talked.
Yeah.
The bottom of the 8s, though, is a weird range with a lot of risk, but I think potentially some reward.
Yeah, we got Joel Damon, who quite possibly could still be a little tipsy, given the fact that it was a major breakthrough win. Does set up rather well, though, but I may fade off him. But it is the guys at flat 8,000 that are definitely intriguing me. Both guys, Aaron Wise has found a little spot of consistency, something that maybe we've been looking for a couple of years. 10th and 13th in his last 2 starts, and the off the tee and approach numbers look really good. So maybe this is a spot. And then Sam Burns, I think everybody's kind of waiting for the breakthrough kind of to happen with him. But at flat 8K, I think the upside, Ben, is really hard for me to pass up.
Yeah, listen, Sam Burns, chat was talking about this earlier. He kind of fits, the mold for guys who potentially could break through. Everyone thought, he's going to break through immediately when we get to Florida. And he didn't. He did not play well. But I think he still has the game off the tee with the approach. Certainly him and Wise, maybe it was an outlier, but maybe he's found something. Ricky's there. I mean, I can't really get there in any serious way. I'm interested to see how popular Ricky is, because a lot of people, I think, oh, well, Ricky, this is his chance to get in the Masters, as if he's just been chilling and now he'll turn it on. I think that's a little far-fetched, obviously.
I guess, the last time we saw some situation like this with Ian Poulter a few years ago at the Houston Open, had to win, had to beat Beau Hossler coming down the stretch there to get into the Masters, talked about how important it was to him. But Ian Poulter was playing good golf. Like, he had just come in the top 5 at TPC Sawgrass. That's not what we got with Ricky Fowler right now, sadly. I wish it was, but it's not. Do I want him to win this week? If I could pick 2 guys to win, it would be Ricky, because I don't want to go a Masters without him there. I like him playing there, but we're falling down pretty quickly, and I just hope that it turns around before exemptions run out. He doesn't have as many as, like, say, Jordan Spieth does. He can't afford a 2.5-year drought.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost right now, so we'll see. You never know. That's not a serious concern for me of what to do with Ricky this week. Yeah. Then you got Hadwin and Joel Dahmen, who won last week. I'm kind of indifferent. Hadwin's just a short game specialist at this point.
Yeah, I think he's a little mispriced in this field. Not sure why. And then you got Keegan Bradley, who is kind of streaking in this range. I don't mind Bradley at 8,400. I think he presents some pretty good value. So in this range, then if you had to rank them, for me, I think looks like Cam Davis, Aaron Wise, Sam Burns would be my top 3. Then I'd like to mix in Lanto Griffin, Zach Johnson, and Keegan Bradley. How about you?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think for me, Lanto, I'd probably have a little higher than you. And then potentially, I don't think Sam Burns is a bad play. I'm going to have some. I do worry about exactly where he's at. So we'll see. To me, it's a good range to group. Cam Davis, Keegan, and Sam Burns are very good drivers of the ball. Zach Johnson, Kirk, and a couple other guys are more that technical layout. You have the best of both worlds. You build accordingly.
For sure. And now I guess if we do want to pivot to the weather angle here, Cam Davis is in the morning. He's actually in a big pairing there with Abraham Answer also in the morning. So definitely a lot of the stars I'm kind of seeing play there. Sam Burns, he's at 12:31 on Thursday. So he would be, I guess, in the good wave. Tony Finau, I already mentioned there. Another guy that we're going to talk about coming up here in a second, made a couple of cuts in a row. Phil Mickelson.
Okay.
Now, this definitely doesn't seem like the course to play him, given the fact that he's really struggled off the tee. That's been the main of it. Likes to play before a major. Obviously, he's going to play the Masters the rest of his life. Are you going to play him this week, next week, ever again?
No, probably. It's pretty crazy to think that, like, I'll probably never play Phil again, ever, in any field, no matter what. Like, because if he starts to play well, I definitely won't play him, because he's going to be, like, popular and overpriced.
Yep.
And if he continues on his trajectory, I would never play him. So I think it's been, I don't even say end of a run. I probably didn't play him when he was good. So no, I won't be playing Phil.
I figured that was probably going to be the answer that I was given. Real quick, back to the 8K. I know we brushed, you mentioned Hadwin's kind of a short game specialist. Do you think that can work here this week, or is it probably wait until his price comes back down? Because 8,300 seems way out of price.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can work. It's just I don't know, your margins are a little messed up. He's going to need to flip tee to green. It's not like that can't be done. It's just weird. So
a lot harder to do than flip putter.
Absolutely. So if you want to mess around with short game guys, maybe Lanto him. I don't hate it. It's just not my preferred build.
Yeah. As Chad says, when we were talking about Phil, we can move on. That's probably a very accurate statement there. So let's talk about a couple more guys in this 7K range as we try and find some golfers to pair up with, maybe more aggressive builds. Certainly right up top, Harold Varner, I'm not really interested in, but then you got 2 guys, Ryan Moore, Brandon Grace. Maybe more specifically on Brandon Grace, he's played well the couple of times he's come here, and he's had an absolute resurgent year. So I like him this week. Can you buy into Harold Varner, or is the wind being a problem going to cause you to stay away?
So that definitely concerns me a little, but I don't mind HV3. He gained across the board at Honda. He's made 4 straight cuts, 5 out of 6. Price is reasonable, and I think he'll be direct pivot. Listen, I like Ryan Moore, but so does everybody.
Yeah.
So if you can find some players right next to him, you're going to shave off some ownership. And Varner has the ability to go low. He's more of like a showdown type guy in a lot of ways because he flashes and then he kind of goes away. But I don't mind it. I will have some.
Yeah, the recent form with Varner has definitely gotten a little bit better, but $100 more for Aaron Wise, who, since Varner's last top 10 himself, a second at Mayakoba, the T13 at the Honda Classic. So I just feel like probably upside a little bit better. Move down Charles Howell, man, this guy did nothing last week, so I'd much rather play Brandon Grace, but a guy that did make a little bit of noise, Danny Willett, getting informed for the Masters, and also right at that same price, a European mate of his, or English mate, I should say, as well, Matt Wallace. So Danny Willett, Matt Wallace, 7,700. Any interest?
Not really. I mean, pedigree wise, long term, you know the names, but Matt Wallace is just, even honestly, Woodland is there too. And you look at the name recognition, I get it, but they're not really playing well. I think I would rather roll the dice elsewhere, even though long-term, the best players in this range.
Agreed. On that front, Andrew Putnam, let's talk about him for a second. This guy, where did it come from? And I guess, where did it go? I could say, but T5 of Puerto Rico followed up with a T4 at Arnold Palmer. I mean, that was pretty much kind of out of nowhere. We had seen nothing really, since Waste Management, but 3 top 10s on the year. That's actually pretty good when you look at it, given 7,600. Whoever really struggles off the tee. Do you think that the 54% driving accuracy helps a guy like this that's going to hit 54% of his fairways regardless of where he plays?
Yeah, I mean, I think that up to a point you can get away with that style, and he plays it. And at some courses, there's no chance. Here, it's not a death sentence by any stretch, and he's an incredible putter. That's really why he missed the cut at the Players. Tee to green, he was way better than normal, actually. He just couldn't putt for a change. So I get it. Again, it's kind of like Hadwin in some regard. It's not my preferred build to take a guy who struggles like that, but it can be successful because he knows his game and he knows how to control it.
Yeah, that he definitely does. When it comes to putting, let me ask you a more philosophical question. When we get an easy week like this, where we know the greens are, statistically one of the easiest on tour to scramble on and to putt on, you think that helps golfers like Spieth, who are one of the best at putting, or golfers, say, like Gary Woodland, who are one of the worst?
So that is a philosophical question. And I personally think that the easier the greens are, the worse it is for good putters.
Like Spieth and company. Yep.
Because where they really separate is when they can do things, they take advantage, where it's just a shit show. And to me, it breeds more randomness within putting. You could see someone get crazy hot on these greens who's not a good putter, whereas that doesn't happen as much. So that's something to consider. Interesting question, though. I've thought a lot about that, particularly with events that have that situation.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, listen, I guess, would it be easier for Jordan Spieth to make a 40-footer on an easy green? Well, yeah, probably, because, there's likely not as many breaks, not as undulating. He's probably one of the best with pace, yada, yada. I think it probably can go both ways, but I do think the golfers that really struggle likely do a little bit better than normal.
It's what I'd say to that is, say Spieth, and I'm throwing out just a random example. Yeah. He may be more likely to make a 40-footer here, but is he more likely in relation to the field? That's the problem. I think everybody's more likely, and the gap shrinks. Whereas on other courses, he really, and it's not just him, great putters can separate more. So that if it's bunched, that's not a good thing because that's how they get by.
Absolutely. And we may be talking a lot about this next week, where the Spieth's early comments were firm and fast. I can tell you that, listen, I'm like 6 hours from Augusta. That's not really that close, but I can tell you that geographically we're relatively close and we've been hot and dry. So firm and fast, if that's the way it's going to play next week, then maybe we talk about it a lot more. I would love to see it play firm and fast after we saw it play really soft and wet. In November, it would be a really nice change and just like a totally different golf tournament. Would absolutely love that. So, okay, let's keep on going down this range. We're in the 7,500 range. Doug Gim let us down at Honda. Maybe that was conditions. I'm not really sure, but are you ready to give him another try, or I mean, we know he's close, right? But how close?
I mean, yeah, he lost 4 strokes putting at Honda, and you're going to have to, if you want to be part of these younger guys with big talent, you got to endure some of that. It's frustrating, but you're going to get paid off if you believe, if you get it right. And I tend to think that Doug Gim is going to be good on tour. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but he's the kind of guy I'll probably play him indefinitely until something changes.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I'm not going to lie to you. 7,300. I think it's a pretty reasonable price. Maybe a couple more. I think $200 more this week is Eric Van Rooyen.
Yeah.
And $300 more is Sebastian Munoz, who chat just mentioned. But Munoz, he doesn't have a top 10 this year yet, which that's really kind of concerning to me. A guy that we expect to see there. T17 at the Century Tournament of Champions, Ben, is his best finish. So are you ready to play him at 7,600, or would you rather go to Gim, who we've seen, have a chance to win a couple of times?
I'd probably rather go to Gim. I'd probably rather go to EVR, to be honest. He got out of the group. He's very erratic, but you got to endure that. And I think I'm mostly focused on pure upside in this particular range. I think there's a lot of flyers. There's not a lot of safety. So yeah, I'd go to Gim before I do that. Honestly, Johnny is right there.
Johnny Hunt.
There's a lot of targets in this mid-sevens.
2 more coming off their season best performances. Sam Ryder, a runner-up at Corrales, and a T3 for Denny McCarthy at the Honda. Both names 74 and 7,300. And McCarthy, oh man, he's a guy that when he gets over 10% owned, I just hate to play him because I feel like he's always in a range where he's not that much better than the golfers surrounding him. So I struggle to play him when he gets chalky. He looks like he's going to be chalky this week. Sam Ryder's not. So I would rather, if I'm picking between those two, I'd rather play Ryder. Are you interested in either, or would you like to just pivot to some of the other guys we just mentioned?
I probably would pivot. You can't play everybody, and that's just not my style per se. Ryder, Denny McCarthy is the number one guy on tour who needs to putt well to compete. He's I think the best putter out there. Guy's unbelievable, but it's so hard. If he can gain 0 and he's been doing that, he's been great. It's just, I tend to not want to go there. I'd much rather play Doug Gim or just look elsewhere, change my lineup construction.
Another guy that I needed to fade on Sunday, still ended up with a top 10 though, which ended up being fine for me. I didn't care. Was Sepp Straka, 7,300. I actually do think this is a great setup for him. I think the form is definitely trending in the right direction. A couple of good starts. We had a made cut at Honda. We had top 10 last week. I'm in this week.
I don't mind that. That's a guy that, again, he's got a couple of things that skill set wise can translate. Certainly the ball striking. I looked at him. I looked at, I guess that's a weird link. I wasn't even trying to do this, but another Austrian, Bernd Wiesberger's right there, who I can't get a handle on what's going on with him. Certainly off the tee has been weak. I still believe it's in there, though. I think he's got the talent, and we haven't seen it lately. I'm not going to give up, though. At 72, he's going to be in the pool as well.
Yeah, if I had to take between Wiesberger or say like a Matt Wallace, I would definitely take Wiesberger here at $500 cheaper, pairing them up just because there's 2 typical European tour players that we do not see over here very often. Obviously, Sepp Straka being full-time, we get a good look at him.
Yep.
Patton Kizzire and Adam Long look like they're going to be chalk in that range. That's why I said, I've no problem shifting to Straka, Wiesberger. What do you make of Long and Kizzire? Do you think their time has come this year, or could they set up well this week?
In a field like this with limited equity up top, I guess they could. You're talking about one of 75 golfers that you could say, yeah, they could get it going randomly. And that's how I view it, would be random. I don't see anything with them that screams this is the week. So probably not going to make it for me.
Yeah, probably not going to make it for me either. I see the chat is having a little buzz about Matthew NeSmith. Seen maybe a little spot of regression from NeSmith after a really, really good stretch where the ball striking was just on target almost every week. Genesis, AT&T, basically the West Coast swing. Since we've switched over to Florida, though, cut T36. So, Ben, obviously regression definitely set in. Is it a bounce back spot as we move back west into Texas, or not quite yet for Matt Neesmith?
I mean, I guess he's striking it better than he's playing. Harry Higgs is right there. I think he's going to garner some interest, but it's warranted. Also playing really well. Great scorer of the ball. Top 20 at Honda. So you've got options there. Cam Champ is flat 7. I don't, it's, can he attack? Can he score? Can he get through? He's obviously, you can't do anything unless you make the cut. Like if he does, he's going to return value. No doubt in my mind. It's just a matter of, can he hold it together?
Harry Higgs' name, love that you just brought up, definitely trending in the right direction. A guy that maybe one of the best personalities on tour next to Joel Damon. Really struggled through the end of the West Coast swing, cut at Phoenix, Pebble, and Genesis before bouncing back at the Players T29 and T19 at Honda. So I think things are moving in the right direction. Silly to fade a guy going in the right direction. If, at 7,100, I know that the ownership is projecting maybe around 7 to 10%. I think that's fine and warranted given his price here this week. So interested there. Cam Champ, here's kind of the route that I took with Doc Redman. Until I get a top 20 out of them, I can't play them. I don't know that they're playing well enough to present value, even say at 7,000 for Cam Champ. His missed cut equity is so high right now, Ben. I can't get there. I would rather go to kind of some of these other guys that we mentioned in this range, maybe even go down to say like Ryan Armour. I know that's way down there. Bryce Garnett. Boy, Bryce Garnett last week, we only have old age statistics, but he was over 75%, both greens and regulation and fairways hit. Maybe a better course setup last week, I think, definitely, but I think I'd rather play him than Cam Champ. I know it's so weird to say, but.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where if you're looking for a made cut, you would definitely play Garnett. If you told me one of those two won the event, I'd say 65-35 that's Champ. So yeah, that's really what it is. I think Bryce Garnett has solidified himself more so. You play him in these coastal tracks like last week, more so than this week. But I get the sentiment. And then we've got the whole 6K range. Before we dive in there with chat, it's good to see everyone. I know we changed up a little personnel change. We're moving, not deck chairs on the Titanic, because we're certainly not sinking. Things are good here and we're going to keep it rolling, but hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I know Jason said it before, but honestly, we've got so much going on, whether it's college sports, NBA, baseball, NASCAR, MMA, and certainly I think it's pretty obvious that you and me are going to be putting out a ton of Masters content. So if you haven't been in, get inside, even if it's just for the week. But if you could do your part, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We would really appreciate it. We want you guys to be part of the community.
Yeah, really do. It's really an exciting time, especially to get Masters back in its usual spot. It feels like maybe, a little bit back to normal, or at least trending towards that way. So love to see it in that regard. So couple of more deep flyers to help us out this week, then, because even if you're looking forward to next week, there's that like $4,000 millionaire maker to buy in. Guess what? You can win a ticket this week for as little as $75 buy-in. So again, it's a way to try and leverage a good read from this week into the big money into next week. So definitely take a look at those satellites and qualifiers. I've won a couple for the $100 one, looking for the $4,400 one, the big one this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've paid like probably 2 or 3 entries into the 444 Reddit just with no tickets somehow, because I'm a moron. But yeah, listen, just to speak to that, a lot of people, we've played in some, higher stakes things over the years for sure. It can happen. Like you can parlay a small amount, you hit a satellite, and then you get a chance. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but other times you can really string together a good cash. So that's a great call by you. With some big tournaments for the Masters, use Valero as a springboard if you have some good reads, and maybe you get some free entries or some different contests for next week.
And then when those contests turn into massive wins, here's what we want you to do. We want you to go over to our Awesemo Hall of Fame Twitter account. You can find it at Awesemo HOF. Tweet the screenshot at us and we'll share it with our community. Big thing that we're doing here. We love to see the success of Awesemo Plus members. That is why Ben and I do this. So head on over. Again, it's at Awesemo Hall of Fame, at Awesemo HOF. I'm sorry. Got the Hall of Fame, got the acronym there. But Ben, something that we're really trying to do, and a lot of fun, obviously, as well as part of the community. So, all right, let's go to deep dives here. 6K. I think there are plenty of names here this week for us to play with. One of the names that you and I do like to play, especially in this type of field at 6,800, is Will Gordon. So are you buying in again, or am I on my own island playing him this week?
No, it's similar to Doug Gim, different type of player, but similar in this concept. He's going to have some head scratching moments sometimes where I'm like, what is going on here?
Like Sunday at Corrales.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to be deterred. It's very erratic. I believe long-term Will Gordon's got talent, mashes it off the tee.
He might be the third longest on the PGA Tour behind Bryson and Cam Champ. This guy is incredibly sneaky long for his stature. You know, he's like 5'10". He's like my height and weight and everything. And this guy kills the golf ball. Another guy in this range who people might not know that much about because he's been hanging out on the Korn Ferry Tour, but he came in the top 10 in the COVID year. So that got him into last week, which he then came in the top 10. Here he is this week at 6,800, Grayson Sigg. Ben, I think I'm interested. This guy's got some game.
Cool name. That's a good start for me. Got the name game down. Seems to have some talent. Obviously, I don't know exactly what he's going to do. And a field like this, he's one of the few guys that will be this is a step up. Most guys on tour, this is a lighter week or maybe a step down, a class drop. For Grayson Sigg, it's a step up. So the talent seems to be there. I tend to say, I mean, if you're going to tell me him or Will Gordon by a mile, but if you're playing 100 lineups or something and you want to throw in Grayson Sigg to the pool, I don't think it's the craziest idea. Not a priority though.
Would you play both, or do you think that's taking on too much risk? Like, if you put up both with Jordan Spieth, you can certainly get a lot of those 88,000 guys that we liked.
So the only reason I would play both is that I have a read on something that I need to do it. So if I'm like, you know what, this is the type of week I really believe that Finau and Spieth are going like 1-2. Mm-hmm. Okay, well now you pair them with the double 68s and you're fine, no problem. So I wouldn't do it just to do it, but listen, this is a wide open tournament and you're asking these guys to make cuts, not win.
Exactly. And now I know we didn't cover everybody in the 7K range, trying to make sure we cover the breadth of it. But Martin Laird, I saw Chad just mention him. He played pretty good. He's definitely playing a lot better this year than I thought he would. But T43 and 69 through the Florida swing, I think it's probably I'm out. I'd rather just go down to Gordon or even Grayson Sigg, or for that matter, maybe even Jim Furyk, who likely won't be 90% owned like he was last time out.
Furyk is, I was not on it last time, maybe a little more interest, but still probably not. I think Gordon, and then Nick Taylor's down there, Sloan, there's guys up and down the sixes.
Yeah, there is. Let's talk about Roger Sloan for a second. Playing really well, 6,700. I think maybe people will be drawn to Graham McDowell, also coming off a good finish, but he himself called him the king of Paspalum greens. So I got to be honest, Ben, I'm not going to play McDowell outside of that, I don't think, at least for a little while. But how about the other guy I mentioned there, Roger Sloan, playing well? Are you interested?
Somehow I actually played Roger Sloan at Honda, and he was good. And
25,
yeah, and he's been just solid. So no problem going there. It's not an earth-shattering idea, but you're just looking to guys to round out the lineup, and I think he's more than fine for this range. Man, Doc Redman is just, times are tough right now. I'm not even interested at 66.
I'm not. I'd rather play Rafa Campos, who is kind of another one of those island guys. A T3 at Puerto Rico, a T2 last week against Damon. I mean, it looked like he was going to go into the playoff with Damon. But those are the kind of courses where I like him. He lives in Puerto Rico. He's a Puerto Rico guy. I think he's kind of trained for those. But before that, Ben, on the Korn Ferry Tour, he had a T7 at the Lecom, which is, I think, a Florida course. So he's just in good form. I know he missed the cut at the Honda. You interested 6,900 at all this week? He's playing good golf, but I think I'm out. He's never been able to parlay those good finishes on the islands into a sustained run here on the tour yet.
Yeah, it's tough. Again, step up, and I tend not to try to chase it. I'd rather play like Scott Stallings is there in the mid sixes. I'd love to say Ben Martin, but that's probably a little thin. There are names. Batia, I've seen his name throw around.
Akshay, yep.
I don't think he's in the Will Gordon, Doug Gim bucket yet, but he could be in time. So yeah, you have names if you need to go this low.
Tyler Duncan was starting to play well last week, had an awful Sunday. He's there. Camilo Villegas also played decently last week, 6,400. A couple of names that, I'll have in a lower ownership. What is Henrik Stenson going to get paid again?
I was
the Hero World Challenge.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how he's going to get in there. Tiger's not going to invite him. I don't know, man. It's just broken. So this will never happen, but how hilarious would it be if Stenson somehow won this week and then next week with pricing locked, he's like basically the min at the Masters. He would be so popular. It would literally break the tournament.
Oh man,
never going to happen because he's absolutely dusted. But
I kind of want that to happen now because he's still in the field, right? Yeah, he's still in the field next week at min price, like you said, 6,200 off of the Open Championship win. Oh man, if he flashes for him this week, he would absolutely break the tournament. It would
mega chalk.
It would be hilariously fun to watch. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, I hope it happens. It's just not going to.
No, the form is really, really not there. Okay. A couple more guys that I have written down that I just wanted to mention. Brunson Burgoon, he's playing decently well. He's made a lot of cuts in a row. So if you're looking for a cut maker down here, Burgoon might be that for you. Adam Schenk, also kind of a cut maker, also good course history. And Ryan Armour, I think he profiles well in these type of events. So 3 names that I wanted to throw out. Any names other that you want to throw out before we give hot takes and maybe a quick little Masters give?
Not really. I think down here, you're really looking to just solidify whatever your plan is. For me, my plan is not anything in the 6s. It'll just be a contingency of my real plan, which is Hideki or something else, Spieth or whatever I do, I'll act accordingly. I've seen Chappell's name brought up. He is a former winner.
In on Chappell.
He played well at Honda, but I just caution people. He gained 5 strokes putting. I tend not to chase that. So we'll see. Certainly tomorrow night, me and Eric we'll dive into some more and see what the weather is going to be. But I think this is a pretty good start of how to attack it. And now I just have to kind of tweak what my lineups will actually look like.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we've got just about 2 minutes here. I can tell you that very briefly from my Masters Overlook, Ben, it looks like pricing is actually pretty superb. You cannot get in anybody you want. DJ's at 11.5, setting the pace. You got Cantlay, Morikawa, Spieth. My 3 guys are 3 guys in the row on the board. 9-8, 9-6, 9-4. Obviously, Spieth 9-4 looks like the early chalk. I'm okay with it. Anybody else stick out to you in pricing wise, just as an early look?
Yeah, I haven't taken a super close look at it. I'll say the upper 7s, I think, is absolutely loaded, though, with guys who are not playing the best, but big names. The Adam Scotts, the Louis, the Caseys, the Bubbas. Day. Someone in that group, I think, is very live to get it going. And then the other question is Brooks going to play? Because if he does play, I think he could truly be the main leverage amongst a lot of quality players. The risk reward with him would be off the charts.
Yeah, 9,200. If the knee surgery wasn't that major, I'll tell you, this guy obviously before that knee surgery that he had was looking like he was back. 1 at Waste Management, 2 at Concession. I mean, that would be awesome to get him and Spieth and everybody playing great. All right, hot takes this week. I've got a pretty good one. I'm going to say it, and then I'll give you the couple names that I really think it covers, but it does cover vastly more. I think we're going to get a first-time PGA Tour winner that is not qualified for Augusta next week.
Okay.
So that covers like Sam Burns, Cam Davis. It doesn't cover Abraham Answer. He would be my hey, can I get a pass? Abraham Answer would be the one guy I'd ask for a pass on.
No, that's fair. I mean,
Doug Gim also in this realm.
This tournament historically has done that. It's provided some of those type of players. Chat, as I always say, this has been fun. It's been a good time. If you have any questions, you hit me up on Twitter, Jason as well, or more importantly in Slack. We hope to see you guys soon. My hot take, again, I'm going to refine it over the course because we'll see me tomorrow night.
Yep.
But I think it's that mid 7s. That range I think is pretty interesting. I'm looking at like the EVRs up to the Ys. I think the winner may come out of that. You got a lot of names that are calling some interest for me. Risk reward is there. So I'm going to sort through that. Get back to you guys tomorrow night. This has been fun, man. It's like I said, nice to see you in the daytime.
Yeah.
When I'm still half awake as opposed to the night. But tomorrow night I will stay up. I will be there. Me and Eric Lindquist, 8:00, I believe, but you can check the schedule. That's why you subscribe to the channel. Anything else from you, sir?
No, that's it. I'm really excited for next week. Obviously, if you're gonna, you guys miss me, the fans, tomorrow night, find me on our premium Slack channel. Ask me questions there. Don't worry, I'll be around, and I got to give those guys a hard time. So, till next time, everybody, we will see you for Masters Week next week. This is it for the PGA DFS Strategy Show for Valero Texas Open. Thanks, everybody.